Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Intrepid Dawn. My name's Captain Katarn. Thank you so much for sticking with us tonight. Sorry about the technical difficulties we had in the previous stream. We'll be streaming Star Trek New Horizons tomorrow night, so we'll do that as part of the Let's Play. Since we have the developers here, I thought it would be pretty cool to ask them a little bit about the new upcoming Star Wars mod, Star Wars Fallen Republic. And I'm joined today by G-Man, who is one of the lead developers, as well as Snapstyle, and we're going to take some questions from the chat, as well as allow them to talk about some of the things that they're working on. So if you're not familiar with this is an upcoming total conversion mod. Pretty much any question is going to be on the table, and they'll tell you whether or not they can answer it. So if you throw it out there, just put it in brackets question, so we can easily pick it out of the chat here. And let's get started. So thank you so much for joining me tonight, guys.
Yeah,
No problem.
Okay.
Pleasure to be here.
I'm happy to have you. So, Star Wars Fallen Republic. First, for the people that aren't familiar with this, because I'm sure this will actually be watched by a lot of people, and this will be the first time they've heard about it, can you tell them what the mod is, essentially, and where you got the idea for it?
You?
Okay. Yeah, sure. So, basically, there's never really been a whole lot of material discussing like what happens between like episode 3 and A New Hope. I mean, other than that, you've got Rogue One and you got Solo now, but like other than that, there's not a whole lot there. So I kind of wanted to. I've always really wanted to make like a mod that was focused on like that era, like kind of like what happens right after the Empire takes control of everything, and like things are kind of still disparate, and the Empire kind of has to like, you know, wrestle control of the galaxy and stuff like that. And I thought that made a lot of sense for Stellaris in general. So I figured that would be like a good time period to go with.
Okay, excellent. That sounds cool. So it is a total conversion mod then, for Stellaris? Yes. Okay. Excellent. So there you have it. So it's going to be Star Wars Total Conversion mod. And before, I'm sure that this is a question 1,000 times in there, everyone wants to know when it's out. So I know you can't give us exact dates, but is there anything that you can tell them?
There is no exact release date. We can't say anything. It takes its time it needs, and everyone wants a good one, a good mod, and it needs time. We have to wait for it until it's finished.
Okay, and I just want to let you guys know that I have this on the screen. I'm playing a quick Galactic Empire playthrough. This is not the Star Wars Fallen Empire mod, but I wanted you to have something to watch while we have the discussion, so it's not so boring for you. All right, so let's get to the questions. Was there anything else that you want to talk about specifically about this, or maybe upcoming changes to Stellaris before we start taking audience questions? The 2.2 mod or 2.2 release, and anything that could potentially open up for what you guys are looking to do.
I'll take this question.
Okay.
I actually am really stoked about all the changes. I think it's wonderful for modding in general for Stellaris. I think the changes to the economy and making it a lot more dynamic for a lot of opportunity, not just for Fallen Republic really, but for New Horizons too, and basically every mod under the sun. I mean, you could really get in depth with this if it's shaping up how I think it's going to shape up.
Okay.
Because you could do a lot of really cool stuff with it.
And you're specifically referring to the stuff that Wiz has posted on Twitter, where they're doing a complete and total planet remap for resources and everything else. So it's very exciting what's coming down the pipeline for Stellaris. So if you're not familiar with that, check that out. But yeah, it'll allow the team to do a lot of cool things. Okay, so let's jump into the question. So the first question is, will there be a Death Star available in the game? Right.
Yes.
Okay, there you go. One word answer. Yes. You guys, we're on a roll. Okay, will a Super Star Destroyer like the Executor be buildable?
Also yes.
Also yes. And what era of ships can we expect in the initial release? That one's
the initial release. Well, that one that'll be about basically any type of Republic, like Clone Wars era ships, leading all the way up to, I would say, about X-wings, like that time frame.
Okay.
What I can say here is, I think we will show literally every ship we will have in this mod. We will show in sneak preview on our Twitter, Facebook, and Discord.
Okay.
So just follow, subscribe, and something else, and check out the previous postings and wait for the next one upcoming every Sunday, or mostly Sundays. We
Yeah.
will show you lots of details.
Okay, so if you guys aren't already following them now, go ahead and follow them on Twitter and on Facebook, and they have their various social accounts where they post their Sunday previews. A lot of cool models have come out of that. So we've already seen, let's see, what were some of the really well-received ones so far, G-Man? Trying to remember some of the Twitter posts I looked at that were pretty cool. You have so many different models.
And I read just CIS ships, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there was the, I can't even say that word. Was it Lucrehulk? Something like that?
Yeah, it was, which one was that? Snapstyle, you know it exactly?
Was it the second to last one?
Yeah, the second.
The last ship we showed that wasn't the most recent one. That was the Lucrehulk droid control ship.
Does this follow Legends canon? Is a question per Jenna Smith.
It will follow a mix of both. We're kind of, I'm trying to like walk a fine line, because I think there's a lot of Legend stuff that can be added. That's really cool, and at the same time, I don't want to stray too far from canon.
Okay.
The best of each, you can say.
Yes.
Fair enough. I like that. So it's gonna fill in where we need to. That's cool.
Yeah. Whatever fits better, I guess.
Right. Vamp Manson Gaming asks, will the ships only be canon, or will they be mixed in Legends canon and maybe even some Fananon, so long as they can fit the story? Which I guess is a follow-up to that, but I think the first question was more about lore, and this is about chipsets.
I'd say to both questions it would be about the same answer.
Okay. Excellent. So that's perfect. And then I have another question here from, let's see. Desert Fox Gaming asks, will we be able to build individual fighter squadrons? Do you see any kind of major revamps for the way that type of mechanic works in your mod?
Individual fighter squadrons, not at the moment, not currently planned. Unfortunately, Stellaris doesn't offer a whole lot right now. In that regard, fighter squadrons are pretty. I would like to be able to add more stuff, but there's some limitations in the engine that we need to work around.
Okay, fair enough.
Squadrons on ships will of course be a thing, but
right,
independent, probably not. Not on release.
And John, who's actually in the chat with us here, wants to ask, does your ship pack include CIS models, or is that outside of the time frame of what you're doing? Now, we saw them in there, so I assume that they're worked in somehow, but is the CIS an actual faction that you can play, or do we have any idea of how that's going to work?
The CIS will be basically in a hollowed out state, because we're basically going to do like a remnant faction for them. So, you know, the Clone Wars are technically ended, but I'm sure there's still a lot of holdouts for them, and I'm sure there's probably people who are interested to think about maybe reforming the Confederacy, and I can guarantee you that's probably going to be a thing.
All right, that sounds awesome. That is snapstyle. Yep. So thank you for that answer. Let's see. Anything new regarding megastructures? Death Star, maybe? Anything that you can talk about regarding that? Obviously, we've confirmed Death Stars, but
I think it's a good idea if you play the Star Trek New
These
Horizons
exhibits
mod,
are
where we have
interactive.
implemented several options for building ships like a mega project, like a Borg cube, the Omega cube. So different solutions will the Star Wars mod be as well.
that's exciting. Thank you. And let's see, next question from SS Blue Vegeta. Will the fighter squadrons include the ARC 170s? Do you have the fighter squadron models fleshed out at this point?
I do not believe ARCs will make it in. V-Wings will be a starting craft for some factions, but ARCs not currently planned.
Okay. Good answer there.
ARCs make the balancing horrible difficult. It's absolute difficult.
Next question: will there be an asserter class star dreadnought? I'm not sure what that is. I suppose that's Fananon, or yeah, fan cannon.
If that's, I believe that's an Imperial ship. I'm not entirely sure though, but no, that won't be making
We
it in.
solved science.
Okay, thank you. And let's take a look. Does the mod have any plans to expand beyond that era and eventually work up to Vong invasion craft? And these people are going long term because I can imagine that's as much.
I read that question so often.
Yeah. Personally, I don't really care for the new Jedi Order. Like, no, suck my dick. But all right, go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, I've thought about this a lot. I'm not really sure. I would like. Obviously, it fits for like an endgame crisis.
Right.
So, I mean, that's always a possibility.
Okay. Very cool. So, not ruled out, but not anything we can talk about at this point.
Not currently planned.
Right. Not currently planned. All right. Good. Will planets like Kuwat have the ring around it? Do you plan on having a static map? I think we talked about this before, but let's go into your map plans for the mod. What would be available at launch, ideally?
That's really just a question of how much we manage to get done, really. I mean, if it's in lore, we're going to want to put it in. So yeah, I mean, I would want Kuwat to have its signature ring.
Okay.
And whether or not that actually affects the shipyard and the system, something we have to talk about.
Right. And specifically regarding that, are there different types of map styles, like random maps or static maps or anything like that you're looking at possibly trying to implement? Because I know New Horizons was always praised for having their canon version of the Milky Way. Is that something planned maybe for Star Wars as well, or is it too early to talk about it?
No, I actually do a lot of the map work. Currently, what we have planned, and I've done quite a bit of this already, is basically something similar to what Star Trek does to handle maps. You're going to have some random maps for multiplayer, some random starts, just so you can get a little more variability out of that. And then you're, of course, have your canon map start. And that's going to be of a couple different varieties. So, like, you can have a very heavy canon start where, like, the Empire has a lot of systems colonized at the beginning, has access to things like Venators already, dreadnought heavy, or acclimators and dreadnought class heavy cruisers, stuff like that. Same thing for all the factions, like the Hutts will have a significant part of the territory, the Corporate Sector Authority. You know, basically any faction I could think to add, I tried to add. So I mean, I think we're at like around 40 little over 40 factions right now.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And do a lot of those share ship sets then, or do they have unique ships? Okay.
Some have unique.
Right.
Like the Mandalorians, Imperials, Rebels.
Yeah, it's similar. It's similar like the Star Trek mod. Some have, some must not.
Right, and that makes sense. That would be a ton of work. Specifically, they're asking, is the Chiss, or are there any plans to have the Chiss be an Empire in the game? Is that something that can be confirmed?
I can't confirm it, but we're looking to get some help with the Chiss models, and I really, really want to add the Chiss.
Okay, excellent. So, guys, there's hope. All right. Will there be different endgame crisis with these mods? Is that something that with this mod, is that something that you're looking to potentially change, or does the vanilla one work in this instance for you for now?
I'll let you answer this one, G-Man.
Yeah. So as far I think it's maybe better we don't comment that.
Okay, no comment on that at this time. Question from John. How do you plan to keep the game stable for multiplayer with all these factions and systems? Yeah, okay. I suppose that has to do with just choosing your map size. But
correct.
Yeah.
Obviously, those with heavier rigs are going to be able to handle the bigger maps better. I will add that with the cannon start, you will have a choice of a smaller map like Star Trek, but don't expect like quadrant maps.
Right.
That's not something that I think really fits Star Wars very well. Whereas Star Trek, it makes sense to have like an alpha and a beta quadrant map, but in Star Wars, just expect a smaller version.
Okay, that makes sense. And regarding multiplayer, do you see, are there any specific changes you guys are making for multiplayer to encourage that, or it will be pretty much just the same as a single player mode? What I'm asking is essentially we have our own multiplayer mods packs that we use on this channel, where we have special rules like being able to turn on things like starting traditions that we don't normally get, things to speed up the game. Is there any plans to natively support that, or is that something that we'll have to do on our end to host them?
That's not currently.
Okay, cool. Let's see, how large of a percentage will the CIS remnants have in the canon start? That's kind of specific, guys. I don't want to read that. Let me see. So I'm just trying to read through some of these, make sure they're appropriate questions. How will tech progression work in this mod? There really wasn't a lot of difference in technology even between the prequels and the sequels.
I'm sorry, what was that last question?
Sorry, the last question is, how will tech progression work with this mod? According to the person that's asking it, Elias here, I hope I'm saying your name right, sir. There really wasn't a lot of difference in the technology between the prequels and the sequels, so how do you see that working with Fallen Republic?
Oh, okay. Yeah, the overall, I don't know how many people in chat are familiar with New Horizons, but there are a lot of techs in New Horizons. Fallen Republic is cutting that down a little bit, mainly for that reason. There's just not a whole lot of variation in Star Wars compared to like New Horizons, where you have an infinite plethora of different weapons, whereas in Star Wars it's basically like, do you like turbo lasers or turbo lasers? So I mean, it's not exactly.
Okay.
I'd still like to make things interesting, so like expect text to take longer, be more impactful. That's
Very
what
cool.
I would say, and an overall less number of texts.
Post-mod release, as the official canon updates and we fill in more of the era between episode 3 and episode 4, will you guys look to update to follow suit? Or is this one of those things that once it's out, because it's a colossal amount of work, we can pretty much expect that to be their final release date?
I mean, as long as it doesn't mean that we have to rework the entire code base, then sure.
Yeah, fair enough. Good answer here. Let's see what we have. What new mechanics will be added to the game with this mod? Is there anything particularly that you can speak about that would be different than something Stellaris currently offers?
We solved science.
Maybe the sneak peek about the how called it? I cannot remember. It's too late now for me.
Yeah, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning for G-Man, so we appreciate him even being awake right now, and I'm sorry to wake him up. Tell your boss tomorrow it was my fault. He can come after me.
I can talk about the ship rework if you want.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so something we decided to do, and I was really inspired. I work closely with the New Horizons guys, so I was really inspired by what they did, what they're doing with their new Federation ships, and I decided to rework a lot of the systems and did a lot of work on the GUI, and so I would expect some serious. Basically, what I tried to do was, within limitation, add a more realistic amount of weapons to different ship sections.
Okay, do you want me to show that screenshot that you shared with me now?
Yeah, that would be a good example.
Okay, 1 second for me, guys. So we have this, and it should be on your screen right now. It'll show you exactly what it is that he's referring to. And you can kind of see the, this is a Venator class here with a couple different slots. It's not final, so please don't look at that and assume that that's going to be exactly what the mod looks like. But if you want to speak to the screenshot at all, if maybe, I don't know if you want to describe it or if the image is good enough on its own.
Yeah, no, that was just a proof of concept I did to make sure that this all worked.
Right.
But yeah, no, the actual weapon count I think is a little bit higher than that. I think the current one I got here, yeah, about 30 weapons on the Venator.
30 weapons. Okay, I cannot wait. And No, this is just me asking. I don't know if there's an engine limitation, but do each of them create a particle effect, or is it capped over how many seconds that they
Yeah, the
appear?
particle effects aren't hit so hard to the performance. More important is the economics of the whole galaxy, the count of the pops, the count of the events, the flags, and everything else in the background you cannot see in the game. Yeah, things you can see. It's mostly worked by GPU, and it's not so hard impacting by the game speed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's if you have a better code, if it work much better. So
That's it.
like
Scan
our
it for
last
me.
update for New Horizons was saved 600 megabyte of RAM usage in game was brings much more stability and much more performance for lower PCs. Um, it's a big issue for Stellaris that Stellaris is a 32-bit engine.
Oh.
It's not just it's a Clausewitz engine which is used by any Paradox game. It's
Mhm.
really good engine. Um, we cannot tell that it's bad to use that, but it's outdated in the current time, and we need a 64-bit engine to use more than 3.5 gigabyte of RAM. Because that is the reason of the most crashes of the New Horizons mod. When you play a long time, maybe 500 years in game, your usage of RAM is so huge that your game is crashing because you're go over
Right.
this border.
Yep.
Yeah, it's absolutely annoying. So we have to stop, or we need to stop to adding more ships to the Star Trek mod, just because this issue. Yeah.
Right.
So the the target for me, for myself, was every species have its own chipset. If it's lore, it's awesome, or some
These exhibits are
creations by
interactive.
like any fan track. Yeah. So in the end, it would be more or less 1,200 different ship types in a mod. Actually, around about 500. We cannot grow up. It's too
We
big
solved
for this
science.
engine, and this is the biggest problem of Stellaris right now for modders like us.
I will
Okay.
say, Fallen Republic does skirt around that a little bit because our turbo lasers aren't actually particles; they're just little models, projectile models.
Yeah,
So that is a good thing about Fallen Republic is that our weapons will suck less resources on the engine than theirs will.
yeah, the Star Wars mod Fallen Republic will work much better, much faster than a Star Trek mod because it's quite smaller. Yeah, it's better.
Turbo lasers are fortunately a lot more graphically efficient than phasers.
Right.
Yeah, we have. I made 90 different weapon effects for the Star Trek mod. 90, and it's. I have no idea how many effects you
The
can add
device has been
for a Star
modified.
Wars mod.
Question for you. So we
So
have a. Sorry. Go ahead.
I just joking, just joking.
So we do have a question here from the chat. It says, "How will ships be balanced in Star Wars?" Now I'm going to read into your question, Chris. There's a huge disparity between like the Rebel Alliance and the Empire. So is that something that we're going to see play out, or is it going to be kind of like the rest of it is, where every ship is balanced against its other ship class, even if that doesn't make sense necessarily in the story?
Ships will be mostly balanced against each other. Like there will be a little bit of disparity between like an MC-80 and an ISD, but don't expect the difference to be huge.
Okay. Thank you. Excellent. And let's see. Question: will more archaic ship designs be available? Interdictor cruiser, hammerhead, things like that. Archaic. I don't know what he means by that.
It probably means older era stuff.
Okay.
The Hammerhead is in. The Interdictor Cruiser is That I believe is a more. That's like a later tech design, I believe.
Right.
Like that
But
came into being like later in the Galactic Civil War.
Right. That's
But-
why
But that is also in.
Aosis asked for a dynamic freighter,
System scan.
Centurion battle cruiser, basically the KOTOR and Tor ships. So, I guess.
I believe the Mandalorians are getting the Centurion off the bat.
Okay.
Or relatively quickly. As like a starter ship.
Very cool. All right, I appreciate that. How is the Alliance? Let's see. That's not it. Okay, so any other questions, guys? I don't know if there's anything else that you guys want to talk about. I know it's late for you, but let's see. Go ahead, John.
Is the Alliance going to be different factions, or is it going to be like one, group?
We solved science.
So you're asking
because-
if there's going to be different cells
Oh.
of the Alliance, or
Yeah,
if
I
it's
know
going
what
to
you're
be.
talking about. Okay,
Okay.
so yeah. So at the start right now, basically you've got at the very beginning of the mod, you've got your Senate loyalist faction, which is basically just the Imperial Senate, like all the people that weren't very happy with the Empire, and they'll have like their own little section of the galaxy and like the canon start. And then you'll have like some other various factions like Chilectans and Mon Calamari, and they'll have their own little kingdoms off to the side. And I think one of the things we were looking at doing was kind of making it so that like in order to form the Rebel Alliance, you kind of have to like pull these groups together and then kind of like form it
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
over the course of the game.
So it's kind of very similar to what they're doing with the Federation, essentially, in New Horizons. I like that.
Pretty similar, not exactly, but it's a good way to think about it.
Okay. And since everybody is familiar with his mods, is Alradi contributing to the model making for Star Wars as well?
Yes.
Okay.
He is our main modeler and has contributed basically. We've been getting models from a lot of different sources, and he's been reworking them to look good in Stellaris, and we add them in.
Excellent. Jack wants to know, will you be able to split the galaxy in half and do team versus team? I don't know if... I assume that that's probably not a function of that. That's something that we've been
That's
experimenting with,
Scan
but...
it for me.
I mean, you could do that as a player.
Right. Yeah, so, Jack, the thing is that we do that. Oh, sorry, go ahead, G-Man.
Yeah, the point is that I already want to drop the ship sets as mods, as standalone mods, and so you can make competition maps for your multiplayer sessions with the standalone ship set mods.
So is that confirmed, or are you saying that it's something that you're considering?
Oh, I already confirmed that.
Okay. Yeah, so confirmed. You will have the ability to download the ship packs individually as standalone mods and create your own multiplayer packs.
I don't know which ship sets he want to make as a standalone. I'm just saying he confirmed that he want to make it.
Okay.
Yeah, he did express interest in that.
It's very cool. And as a group of players here that heavily use those ship packs for our own multiplayer sessions, we appreciate it, because that's amazing. Being able to use that and essentially create it's a cheap version of it, but a version of Star Wars to play until we have this mod has really been a lifesaver for me, because Stellaris is amazing. I'm addicted.
Can I drop the link there, or will you drop the link?
Sure.
Discord.
Yeah, throw the link in the Discord, and I'll throw it up on the chat. Question, can you drop a link to Paradoxical's Discord? Yep, so there you go. G-Man's reading the chat. Can you put the link in my Discord, and then I will copy and paste it over? Alright, appreciate you. Alright, let's see, what else do we have? Yeah, we already answered that, Nicholas. They're not going to talk about the custom crisis yet. How will energy, food, mineral production be the same, or will this change it? Chris, everything with that is changing with 2.2, so it's probably a little premature unless you guys want to talk about that at all.
I've had a lot of ideas for that. No, like the more I've been seeing out of Martin's tweets or Wiz's tweets. So basically, what I'm hoping to do, what I'm hoping we'll be able to do, and this is just some preliminary ideas, so I'm not promising anything here, but I kind of wanted to do a lot of changes to like ship upkeep. So I kind of wanted to make it so that instead of like minerals and energy for upkeep, you would have like hyperfuel that you would need to refine some raw, maybe different types of raw resources and refine it into a hyperfuel that which then you would use to provide maintenance for your ships. And I was also hoping to do something with like Tabana gas, like maybe you have to mine Tabana gas and then refine it into like some type of plaster gas, and then that would allow you to build weapons and stuff like that. So like military ships would require like a source of Tabana gas income.
That sounds awesome. It really does.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, keep in mind, guys, these are just ideas at this point. Anything that they're saying, they're not committing to it right now. So please keep that in mind. So if anything doesn't make it in for any reason, we don't want you to be upset. The developers. I'm gonna watch these Star Destroyers while we do this. I don't know if you can see this on your screen, but this is the kind of thing that makes me happy. Just having a bunch of Star Destroyers show up on a planet. Good times. All right, let me see. Do we have any other questions, guys? All right, last call for questions. Will you make going to the unknown regions harder, and if so, how? I wonder. G-Man is laughing.
I think other people have been considering tackling that problem, but I'm certainly not one of them.
Okay.
That would be really hard to do.
Right. Okay. Great. So if there's nothing else, then I really appreciate you guys coming onto the channel, giving us an update. So if you're just joining, there's no official release date yet. They can't commit to anything, but as soon as I have information, I'll pass it on, and you'll certainly see it through all their social media sites. So check it out. G-Man, if you want to drop your link in the chat there, you can, for Twitter and Facebook or anything else you use. I'll approve that if Google will allow it to go through. So very cool. So this is Star Wars Fallen Republic, and we had a chat today with Snapstyle and G-Man, two of the developers for it. So thank you very much for coming on to the show, gentlemen. Yep, and we can't wait to play it, because I know that when it comes out, I'm pretty much gonna have to save up all my sick days, because they're getting used. And yeah, I don't know if that fills you with pride that I'm totally willing to like sabotage my own career to play this, but that's where we are. So, all right. So thank you very much for that, guys. If you enjoyed the stream, hit the thumbs up. If you have further questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I'm sorry, in the comments section, and I'll see if I can get them answered for you on a future live stream. You know, the best questions obviously are not very specific, but not very broad. So if you have something that you want to ask about that you think the developer could reasonably tell you in pre-production, then that's probably the best question. So I appreciate your time, and thank you very much. Tomorrow night we're going to play Star Wars New Horizons, and we're going to do that at 8 p.m., and we're going to play it just as a Let's Play. So no more preview. We're just going to go through the actual mod as I have it, and we'll see how it is, and we'll have fun with it. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the verse.